Chapter 11. My classmate girl Marina. It's thought to be good to criticize social networks. I do that too. There are a lot of reasons for it, but one of them has helped me to find many to whom I hadn't talked in maybe 30 or more years. No kidding. I'll be honest. Since I had finished school, I never missed it. Didn't look forward to any classmate reunions. Nor would I want to see any teachers. I wasn't missing the class much either, in which the YCL, with the consent of our class teacher, wrote in my personal record that I was an avoidant and has no comrades in his class. That was true. I didn't have any friends in that class. I wasn't very social. For the first time, I met some of my classmates accidentally after 7 years, and I was very happy with that, on my first vacation from the north. We all met at a disco, and in our joy we have gathered at one of them and celebrated this occasion till morning dawn. After that, almost every holiday I would meet some of my classmates, including girls. Then, being busy addressing some of my problems at difficult times for everyone, I have long ceased to go on vacations. And when, after so many years, I went south to visit my parents, thanks to the most famous Russian social network, I found some of those my classmates with whom I had no contacts before. A Jewish straight-A student, Lena, for example. Now, whenever I go there, I see somebody else there. I became friends with many of them now. And I always have been shocking those whom I met by being quite different from what they memorized me. All this time at my classmate reunions I casually would inquire about Marina, but no one seemed to know her whereabouts. It was Marina I was about to write here. When I came to that class, it wasn't her I had noticed first. There was yet another Marina. Oh, I love Marinas. An orphan girl who lived with her grandmother, a talented athlete with a bold character. I had noticed this Marina later, but still pretty fast. I couldn't help having a feeling that I had already seen her somewhere. We had turned out to be in the same kindergartens, but in different groups. And she, more than other girls in the class, was arresting maturing boys' sights on her beautiful legs, for what, as I now understand, she often had been judged by our watchful homeroom teacher for her inexcusable frivolously cut school uniform, and our class girls seemed to be jealous of her either. However, Marina had friends in many ways similar to her, except that their academic performance was not as good as Marina's. And how quick a learner she was, I saw myself sitting next to her in the next academic year. I'd like to ask you, if you happen to miss something at a lesson, do you always have the teacher explain it again for you? Right? Good for you. It's always been a problem for me to admit that I didn't understand, missed, or didn't know something. My late dad often had criticized me for that. If you don't know anything, he would demand indignantly, just say, I don't know. Just damn say it. Wasn't it him who had done all this to me? Wasn't it him losing his will if I either missed or couldn't get something when he was teaching me the math in the first place? Well, I didn't inherit his almost computer logical thinking. He was a war kid, a hungry runt, and an A student prodigy in his class. I have never been close as good with math as he was. Just try to say to people like him that you miss something in that trigonometric function. This, my inability to ask again if I had missed something, came for fear of appearing to be stupid in front of others. Didn't do any good to me in my future. Marina, on the other hand, if she ever happened, what was extremely rare, to miss something, she was never shy to meticulously ask somebody again and have it explained properly to her. Well, where did you get this from? Okay. What about this then? Okay, got it. And this? Gradually, I learned to ask her to help me out and have her explain something. For that I would help her with her Russian. I always corrected her misspellings and filled in missing commas in her copybook after the dictations. I never knew any grammar rules, nor did I care about it. I just had my innate spelling sensitivity. Marina was the most enjoyable girl sitting next to me. I'm about to give my head to the fact that she was all our boys' classy cheesy. I have heard our boys' talks. I don't mention myself with my imaginations about her. However, as we know, teenage girls treat boys of the same age as if they were kids inferior to them. At this time they prefer to date older boys. I had often seen Marina being in 7th grade coyly talking with some big fellow of the 10th grade. We also admired Marina in a gym class. I'm not going to describe her body. She had a superb shape. Well, maybe her breasts were not as prominent as, say, some of her friends, but everything else was just great. I'm not here to write about that. We had admired her for being a great volleyball player. God, how was she playing? She'd take balls at the most incredible situations, passed it around and effectively attacked. And her ball service hits were generally devastating. They were rarely taken. I wasn't overly good in team sports except for rugby, what didn't stop me to appreciate the beauty of the game. So I remember Marina as the best volleyball player in the class, a sort of a volleyball ninja. If I was asked whether I had been in love with her, I would say probably not. Why not? Well, like most in the class, I liked her. I'm sure more than others. I just felt she was too good for me, and I was killing all my feeble impulses at her. Why? Because I had no illusions. Well, what was I at 13 to 17 years old? A reserved and insecure teenager who even had no normal clothes. That's why he always had a problem with tonsils and sinusitis, and because of testosterone overabundance in the blood caused by his early puberty. He also had acne problem which didn't add up any eye appeal to him. I don't like to remember that time. As for Marina, I could only say that, if desired, she could get under anybody's skin, especially mine. Back in 1990, me and Oleg the sailor, he's a sea captain now, yet another classmate of ours once visited Marina, now a married woman who had a 7-year-old son, a charming blonde boy. I don't even remember whose idea it was to go to Marina's. Mine, perhaps. She had not changed at all, and I was struck by her apartment's stylish decoration. We didn't have those big boxes malls those days where you could get those materials for construction and renovation. I was always amazed by the people's ability to have their fridges full of food and wardrobes of clothes while there was not a thing at stores at the sunset of the Soviet Union. We drank and talked at Marina's. I was so reluctant to leave. Since then, I haven't seen her for the reasons I described above. Any of her classmates who had seen her consistently stated, including my cousin and Oksana, yet another beautiful and the star of the parallel class, that she hasn't changed at all. I heard that she was an accountant in a town major employer where my father has still been working, while her school friends still worked salary at food stores. When social networks came along, I naturally tried to find her, but to no avail. Until after returning from vacation, I saw a message from her on my website page. I had regretted that I had not checked the website while I still was on vacation. The internet penetration wasn't nearly as good as it is now, and my parents didn't have it yet then. I was still there in the south according to the date the message was sent. I could have seen her. I saw her a few years later. We had a date in a nice restaurant. We had a lot to talk about. For once, I learned that when I and Alec were leaving her and kissed Marina goodbye, she got incredibly horny when I touched her. She liked me. And I remembered yet another case years before when she of a sudden came to visit me to take some notebook on physics. That was my mother who opened the door to her. I remember how confused I got at that moment. I was surprised. I didn't have any of her notebooks. I found, however, a draft that I took from her once which I forgot. And why would she need it? I remember my mother's suspicious look on her face and how she, underhandedly yet very threateningly, wagged her finger at me. I just snapped angrily back at her. I just gave that draft paper back to Marina. And now it became clear to me why would she come to me back then. The notebook was just her pretext to see me. She had that rapid sexual maturation too, probably even more turbulent than I had with mine. We laughingly regretted that we could never seize each other. It was even scary for us to imagine what we would have done to each other if we in fact had made it. We for sure would go off our dolly. Actually, that's what happened to another classmate, pretty girl, who didn't seem to be interested in boys before me. You'll read about her later. She has found someone for that anyway. Nothing could stop her. I still regret that it wasn't me. Just think about it. My first woman could be Marina herself, one of the coolest girls in the city.